During our first planning session, we sat down with different stakeholders, including disabled. And we said to each group, what is your vision for the municipality? What does Mngeni look like for you? A brave young lady stood up out of the crowd and began to cry. After 3 or 4 minutes after she composed herself, she stopped crying. And she began to tell us a story that still today I remember and guides my decision-making and ethical behavior. And that is that every day she has to make a choice. She either has to buy adult diapers or she has to get on a taxi and go and buy food. Her disability was that she could not control her bowels. And every time she would get on a public transport vehicle, she would wet the seat or smell funny, and people around her would ask questions and look at her funny. But this is a decision that she made every day. That instead of buying adult diapers for herself and looking after her own disability, she would use her disability grant to go to town, look for a job, and buy food for the 5 other people that she looked after with that one grant. And this is the lived experience of many, many South Africans who have to make difficult decisions every single day about themselves or about the family and the people that they look after. After this meeting, I received a phone call. The lady on the other side told me how useless I was and how corrupt I was. And when I asked her why, after apologizing profusely, she told me that her verge had not been cut for the last 3 months. At this particular point, I reflected on the priorities of why I entered and do what I do. Yes, of course, it is important for government to deliver basic services like street lights and cutting grass and making sure that parks are maintained. But in the same country, in the same province, in the same town, using the same resources, I also have to, as a leader, consider those who have to buy adult diapers because they have to make a tough choice between food and living and getting on a taxi to buy adult diapers. So I'm excited because it's these sorts of stories that keep me motivated, show me the priorities that we have as a nation despite all our inequalities and our differences. I'm pleased today that in our municipality, those with disabilities, like those who require diapers, are now able to access through the municipality this assistance for free. Now, each one of us has an obligation, an opportunity to reflect on our own engagement with each other as South Africans. Where do we fit in? How do we contribute to the greater good of our country? Now, of course, government must stop being corrupt and must stop wasting our money. And we need to see services improve, roads fixed and street lights working. But each one of us also occupies a space in which we can make a real difference. And the simple example or question to ask yourself is, you may have someone who works for you. Does that person's child go to a non-fee paying school that possibly has no toilets, that possibly has no library, that possibly suffers from no electricity or no computer labs? How can you make a difference in that person's life? You don't have to save the world. You just have to help one other person.